I found the text message at 2 in the morning. The blue light of her phone screen cut through our dark bedroom as Amanda whispered and giggled. When she fell asleep, I gently took her unlocked phone and discovered 8 months of messages between my wife and her coworker Jason. My stomach dropped and my hands shook as I scrolled through intimate conversations, date plans, and hotel receipts. I had been completely blind to it all. That night, I decided that waiting for karma was not enough. I was going to make things even worse for her. Before I tell you how I made my cheating wife suffer, even after karma had already wrecked her life, drop a comment, letting me know where you are watching from, and subscribe to hear more true stories from my life that might just help you. Avoid the mistakes I made. 5 years ago, my life changed forever when I met Amanda at a rock concert in Chicago. She caught my eye immediately with her infectious laugh and the way she seemed to light up the room. We hit it off instantly, talking until the venue staff asked us to leave. What followed was 18 months of the most intense and passionate relationship I had ever experienced. "Jim, I cannot imagine my life without you," she told me. On the night I proposed, tears streaming down her face as she said yes. Our wedding was everything we had dreamed of, intimate, yet beautiful, surrounded by our closest friends and family. The future seemed so bright and full of possibilities. We bought a house in the suburbs with every penny of my life savings. I wanted to give Amanda the perfect life, the perfect home. I worked at a financial consulting firm making decent money, and Amanda was finishing law school preparing for her career. "This is our forever home," I told her, as we crossed the threshold for the first time, carrying her over it like in the movies. The first 3 years of our marriage were nothing short of blissful. We were in harmony, making plans for our future together, talking about starting a family once we were both established in our careers. I worked long hours, determined to get a promotion that would secure our financial future. Meanwhile, Amanda graduated and landed a position at a prestigious law firm with an impressive starting salary. "We are going to take over the world together, baby," she would say, as we clinked wine glasses over dinner celebrating our achievements. As time passed, we saw less and less of each other. I was pulling 60-hour weeks at the office, and Amanda was trying to impress her bosses at the firm. Our date nights became less frequent, our conversations shorter. I noticed the changes but dismissed them as normal growing pains in a marriage where both partners were ambitious. The first signs were subtle. Amanda started wearing more makeup to work. She refreshed her wardrobe with stylish, expensive clothes that were a far cry from her usual conservative attorney attire. "Just trying to look the part," she explained when I commented on a particularly low-cut blouse she had purchased. Then came the late nights at the office and client meetings that seemed to stretch longer and longer. She started guarding her phone, changing the password, and always placing it face down when she was around me. I tried to ignore the warning bells in my head. "You seem different lately," I mentioned one morning over breakfast. "Work is just demanding right now," she replied without looking up from her phone. I tried to rekindle our romance. I planned surprise date nights and weekend getaways, but Amanda always seemed distracted, her mind elsewhere. She started mentioning a new colleague named Jason in her stories from work. At first it was casual, just another name in her daily recaps. But soon he featured prominently in almost every anecdote. "Jason thinks we should approach the Henderson case differently," or "Jason recommended this amazing restaurant for client meetings." I began to wonder who this Jason was and why his opinion seemed to matter so much to my wife. The real wake-up call came when Amanda canceled our 4th anniversary dinner due to an emergency at work. I had made reservations at the restaurant where we had our first date, arranged for flowers to be delivered to her office, and even bought her a necklace she had been eyeing for months. "I am so sorry, Jim. This client is crucial, and the partners need all hands on deck," she explained on the phone, sounding genuinely apologetic. Later that night, I called her office to see if I could drop off some dinner for her, knowing these late nights often meant skipped meals. The security guard informed me that most of the attorneys had left hours ago. When confronted, Amanda claimed she had gone to a nearby coffee shop to work in peace. I noticed how she smiled at her phone when text messages came in quickly, turning it away if I walked near. The woman I married, the one who used to share everything with me, had become a stranger in our home. As weeks turned into months, my suspicions grew stronger. I began investigating, checking our credit card statements, and finding charges for dinners at upscale restaurants on nights. Amanda claimed to be working late. There were also hotel charges, from a boutique hotel downtown, on days she said she had out-of-town depositions. I checked her work calendar when she left her laptop open one evening. Many of the client meetings she had mentioned to me were not on her official schedule. The pieces were coming together, but I needed definitive proof before confronting her. That proof came at 2 in the morning when Amanda fell asleep while texting. Her phone was still unlocked, the screen illuminating her peaceful sleeping face. I carefully took it and opened her messages. What I found was undeniable evidence of an affair with Jason that had been going on for 8 months. "I miss you already. Last night was amazing," read one message from him. "Cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Jim thinks I am meeting with clients," she had replied. There were intimate photos, detailed accounts of their meetups, and even discussions about their future together. I felt physically ill reading through months of betrayal and lies. The woman sleeping soundly beside me had been living a double life, making a fool out of me for the better part of a year. When morning came, I confronted her with the evidence. Amanda initially tried to deny everything, claiming I was misinterpreting friendly work banter. "You went through my phone. How could you invade my privacy like that?" She deflected, eyes flashing with anger. But as I presented more evidence, including screenshots I had taken of her conversations, her demeanor changed. The denial gave way to tears and then, surprisingly, blame. "You were never home, Jim. You were always working or too tired to pay attention to me," she shouted. "Jason listens to me. He makes me feel special." I felt a surge of rage unlike anything I had ever experienced. "So this is my fault. I was working long hours to build our future together." The argument escalated until Amanda finally admitted to everything. She packed a suitcase that evening and left, presumably to Jason's apartment. I collapsed onto our couch, the home we had built together, suddenly feeling empty and tainted. The betrayal cut deeper than anything I had ever experienced. News of our separation spread quickly through our friend group and families. Amanda's parents, who had always treated me like a son, were devastated by their daughter's actions. Her father called me personally to apologize. "We did not raise her to behave this way, Jim. We are so sorry," he said, his voice cracking with emotion. Amanda and Jason went public with their relationship at her law firm, a move that immediately raised eyebrows among her colleagues. The firm had a strict policy about disclosing romantic relationships between coworkers to prevent conflicts of interest, a policy Amanda had conveniently ignored. Her coworkers, many of whom I had met at company functions, began to distance themselves from her. The respect she had worked so hard to build was eroding rapidly. This was when karma began to take its first swing at her life. The partners at her law firm called Amanda into a meeting where they expressed their disappointment in her failure to disclose the relationship. As punishment, she was removed from several high-profile cases and effectively demoted. "They are overreacting," she told a mutual friend, who later relayed the conversation to me. "It is just office politics." But worse was yet to come. Just weeks after Amanda had upended our lives for him, Jason was discovered to have been simultaneously involved with one of the firm's junior partners. When forced to choose between the two relationships, Jason chose his career advancement over Amanda, ending things with her abruptly. "It is not personal," he reportedly told her. "But Linda can help my career, and I need to think about my future." Karma had delivered its first blow to Amanda's carefully constructed new life, but I soon discovered that I was not satisfied with letting fate handle her punishment. I wanted to take an active role in ensuring she faced consequences for destroying our marriage. I discovered through a mutual friend that Amanda was desperate to reconnect with me after Jason abandoned her, not out of love or remorse, but because her life was falling apart. She had been apartment hunting and discovered that her credit and income alone were not enough to secure a decent place. For years, our combined income and my excellent credit score had opened doors for us. She was asking if you might consider letting her move back in temporarily, our friend Sophie told me over coffee. "Just until she gets back on her feet." The audacity infuriated me. Then I learned something that pushed me over the edge. Amanda had listed our house as an asset she owned on applications for new jobs, claiming she had equity and financial stability she no longer possessed after our separation. "I have my name on the deed," she had apparently told a potential employer, according to another friend who worked at the company considering hiring her. This was technically true but misleading, since I had paid the entire down payment and most of the mortgage from my personal savings before we were married. Our divorce proceedings would almost certainly award me the house given these circumstances. That was when I decided karma had done its part, but it was not enough. Amanda needed to understand the full consequences of her actions. I began formulating a plan to make her already difficult situation even worse. I had connections in the financial industry from my years of work. With a few discreet phone calls, I learned which companies Amanda was interviewing with. I debated with myself about the morality of what I was about to do, but my pain and anger overrode any hesitation. I reached out to the hiring manager at the firm where Amanda was a top candidate, introducing myself as her soon-to-be ex-husband. I shared information about Amanda's misrepresentation of her assets and her recent ethical issues at her law firm. "I just thought you should have all the information before making your decision," I explained calmly. "Her pattern of dishonesty extends beyond our marriage." Next, I compiled evidence of her affair, including time-stamped photos of her entering hotels with Jason, on days she claimed to be working late. I sent these to her parents and closest friends, people who had been on the fence about whose side to take in our split. "I am not doing this out of spite," I wrote in the email. "I just believe everyone should know the truth about who Amanda really is." I also revealed information about substantial personal debt Amanda had accumulated that I had paid off early in our marriage, debt she had hidden from me until we were engaged. This information, shared strategically with friends who worked in her industry, further damaged her professional reputation. The execution of my plan was meticulous and calculated. I sent an email to the HR director at her prospective new employer, attaching documentation that proved she had lied about her financial assets. As someone who values integrity in business, I felt compelled to share this information. I wrote professionally, making it clear this was not just the action of a scorned husband. I shared proof of Amanda's dishonesty about our shared finances with friends who had stood by her after our separation. Many of these friends had loaned her money recently, believing her story that I had left her financially stranded. Finally, I wrote a detailed post on social media about my experience with a dishonest partner, never naming Amanda directly, but providing enough details that anyone who knew us would understand who I was talking about. The post went semi-viral within our extended social circle. The results were swift and devastating for Amanda. The job offer she had been counting on was rescinded. The hiring manager called me personally to thank me for the information, explaining that integrity was a core value at their firm. "We cannot hire someone who begins the relationship with deception," he explained. Friends who had initially supported Amanda began to distance themselves, especially after learning she had borrowed money under false pretenses. Her parents, who had been trying to reconcile with her despite their disappointment, stopped taking her calls after seeing the evidence of her calculated betrayal. Amanda called me sobbing hysterically, begging me to stop interfering in her life. "You have already won, Jim. I have lost everything. Please stop," she pleaded. I listened to her cries with a strange mixture of satisfaction and emptiness. The revenge I had orchestrated had worked perfectly, perhaps too perfectly. Amanda's life was truly in shambles now, partially due to karma and partially due to my deliberate actions. "You made your choices, Amanda," I replied coolly before hanging up. "Now you get to live with them." Yet despite achieving exactly what I had set out to do, I felt no real closure or peace. The hollow victory left me questioning whether I had become someone I never wanted to be in my pursuit of justice. In the aftermath of my revenge, Amanda faced financial ruin. Unable to find employment at firms comparable to her previous one, she was forced to move in with a distant friend in another state. Her once promising legal career was in tatters, her reputation permanently damaged in our city's legal community. The divorce proceedings went entirely in my favor. With evidence of her infidelity and financial misrepresentations, the judge awarded me the house and most of our assets. Amanda did not even show up for the final hearing, having her lawyer represent her instead. Meanwhile, Jason thrived at the law firm, eventually making partner the following year. He never contacted Amanda again after ending their relationship, completely removing her from his life, as if she had never existed. The ultimate irony was that Amanda had destroyed our marriage for someone who discarded her without a second thought. I kept our house, maintained my career trajectory, and outwardly appeared to have weathered the storm successfully. But inside, I struggled with the person I had become. The satisfaction of revenge had faded quickly, leaving behind questions about who I really was and what this experience had turned me into. "You did what anyone would do," my friends assured me. But I was not convinced. Had I gone too far? Had my justified anger transformed into something darker? I began attending a support group for people going through difficult divorces. Listening to others share similar stories of betrayal and pain helped me realize I was not alone in my experience or my feelings. Anger is natural, the group facilitator explained during one session, but staying in that anger only hurts you in the long run. I also started seeing a therapist who helped me work through my complex emotions about the end of my marriage and my actions afterward. Both of you contributed to the breakdown of your relationship in different ways, my therapist pointed out gently. Her actions were inexcusable, but healing requires honesty about the whole picture. This was difficult to hear at first. I wanted to believe I had been the perfect husband, that Amanda's betrayal came completely out of nowhere. But with time and reflection, I recognized that I had been emotionally absent in the months leading up to her affair. My focus on work and building our financial future had created distance between us. This did not justify her choices, but understanding the context helped me process what had happened. My healing journey was not linear. There were days when anger would resurface, when I would find myself scrolling through old photos or rereading text messages that had shattered my world. But slowly I began to rebuild my life. I poured energy into my career and received the promotion I had been working toward. I reconnected with old friends and developed new hobbies that brought me joy. I started hiking on weekends, joined a local basketball league, and even took cooking classes, something I had always wanted to try but never made time for during my marriage. The most difficult part was learning to forgive, not just Amanda but myself. Forgiving myself for not seeing the signs earlier, for the vengeful person I had briefly become, and for the role I had played in our failing marriage. About a year after our divorce was finalized, Amanda reached out via email. She was working at a small firm in her new city, slowly rebuilding her career. She expressed remorse for her actions and suggested we meet to talk when she visited town to see her parents. I considered it briefly, wondering if a conversation might provide additional closure, but ultimately I declined. Some chapters are better left closed. I wished her well but made it clear that I had moved on with my life. By that point, I had started dating again. I met Sarah at a friend's dinner party, and we connected over our shared love of obscure documentaries and hiking trails. She knew about my past and understood my occasional hesitation and trust issues. With her, I was learning how to be vulnerable again, how to love without the shadow of betrayal hanging over every interaction. What I learned through this painful experience is that revenge might feel satisfying in the moment, but it does not heal wounds. If anything, it keeps them open longer, forcing you to remain connected to the very person who hurt you. True freedom comes from letting go, from rebuilding your life on your own terms, rather than in response to someone else's actions. Karma had indeed wreaked havoc on Amanda's life, and my actions made it worse. But the most important lesson was that moving forward required me to stop looking back. The best revenge was not what I did to Amanda, but what I did for myself, creating a life filled with authentic relationships, self-awareness, and joy that no betrayal could ever take away again. I often think about what I would tell my younger self on the day of our wedding, what warning I might give about the path ahead. But I have come to believe that even with its painful lessons, this journey was necessary for me to become who I am today. Sometimes the worst chapters of our lives lead to the best ones if we have the courage to keep turning the pages. Do you think I went too far with my revenge, or would you have done the same thing in my situation? Leave a comment below with your thoughts. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear that there is life after betrayal. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that even in your darkest moments, healing is always possible if you choose it.